Morning for a very exciting announcement here at Fort Hays State University on a beautiful day. Any day that we have a little rain, it makes us feel very, very positive. Throughout this year, we have been highlighting tremendous success and quality achievements of our students, our faculty, and our staff. We started off the year at the beginning of the academic year talking about the tremendous record that we have in accounting, where our students have gone off and performed at the highest levels. We've recognized our national rankings in graphic design and graphic arts and many, many other areas. So it's only appropriate that we save the very best announcement to last. At the very end of this academic year, Fort Hays State University has been recognized as one of the top teacher education preparation programs, not only in the state of Kansas, but in the country. This ranking of our teacher preparation programs lists us as one of only 7 institutions nationally that had 2 of our programs ranked in the what they call top rank status, their very highest rankings. The National Council on Teacher Quality is the agency that has evaluated teacher education programs extensively for the last 2 years. And this year, they've selected our program in history and government as the 3rd highest ranked secondary education programs in the country. Now, that there are 2,400 teacher education programs throughout the nation. There may even be more than that, but there are 2,400 that they looked at that they considered to be viable. And out of 2,400, Fort Hays' program is number 3. That's not bad. Shows we can improve, but that's not bad. That's very positive. These things don't happen by accident, as I mentioned at the beginning of the year. Every one of these stories has a whole cast of characters that have led to the success of this achievement. We have faculty within the College of Education that have done an outstanding job, but we also have content experts in our departments like history and political science that have done an outstanding job as well. And it's this teamwork effort at Fort Hays and teacher education that really creates this kind of environment that nationally now we're recognized as not only the best in the state of Kansas, but number 3 in the entire nation in that particular area. No other Kansas institution, public or private, has earned any top rankings in this national evaluation. We're the only school in Kansas that has reached that achievement. This is yet another confirmation of the dedication of the faculty that I mentioned before. In teacher education, as in so many areas, our commitment is not just for access. I mean, everyone talks about the low cost and how hard we work to make sure our environment is accessible to students. But in the final analysis, you have to have a quality academic program to go with access. And that's what's really recognized here. We not only have a program that is accessible, but we have a program that is second to none in our state and is second to only 2 other institutions nationally in terms of that particular program. The Teacher Prep Review 2014 is the national study that has been released, that the title of it, that's been issued by the National Council on Teacher Quality, that evaluates all 2,400 programs in the country. In the 12, they break it up geographically. In the 12 Midwestern state region, which stretch from Kansas north through the Dakotas, east to Ohio and Michigan, the Fort Hays Secondary Ed program was number 1, ahead of undergraduate programs and graduate secondary education programs. At number 2 was Miami of Ohio, number 3 was the University of Iowa, and number 4 was Ohio State. So you can see that the other institutions that are competing with us are institutions we should be very proud to be competing with at this kind of national level. Only 26 elementary programs only 26 elementary programs and 81 secondary programs earned any recognition from the TCTQ top ranking designations. So if you look at all 2,400, those are the only, it's a very small group that they've recognized with this high quality award. Fort Hays State is only one of 7 schools that had 2 of its programs ranked, top ranked by the NCTQ. These rankings are based on points, and the more points you get, the higher your rankings are. And everyone always wants to know, well, how in the world do you determine a program is of high quality? And if you look at these 2 areas, points are given according to how a particular program succeeds against national standards. In elementary education, they have what they call key standards, selection criteria being 1, student teaching, quality of your student teaching program being number 2, early reading, mathematics, and other elementary content areas are also evaluated. And then there are what they call booster standards, where you can get extra points if you have really successful programs in these areas. And we picked up booster points for our English language program, where we're preparing teachers to go out and work with people that English is not their primary language. And also with our reading program, the one that's targeted at elementary students that have struggling with their reading. So not only did we do exceptionally well in the standards, but when you look at where you can get extra credit or extra points in the process, the work that our faculty have done in those 2 areas alone got us extra points that help position us as the 3rd best program in the nation. At Fort Hays State, content requirements are critical to the success of our teacher ed program. And so you have to give a lot of credit to the Department of History and Department of Political Science and those departments as well, because they're responsible for making sure that the students have their content up to speed. And in those particular areas, we have been rather aggressive in stressing content. In fact, the students that are graduating and will be going out teaching history, most of them have 2 degrees. They get a BS degree in secondary education, but they're also getting a BA degree in history. So the fact that our teacher ed program is producing students that actually have dual degrees, that really impressed, I think, the people who were doing the ranking, and we need to give a lot of credit to the departments involved, both in education as well as in the College of Arts and Sciences, for their success. So as you can tell, I'm very proud of what the faculty has achieved. And it's nice that nationally someone recognizes something we've known all along, that we do an outstanding job in preparing teacher candidates for our schools throughout the state of Kansas and throughout the nation. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the Dean of the College of Education to make some remarks, and he will also introduce some key faculty members who've been involved in this process. But I'd like to introduce Rob Scott and congratulate him and the team from the College of Education on this tremendous success.
Thank you, President Hammond, and I'd like to welcome all of you on this rainy day. On behalf of the College of Education and Technology faculty and staff, we're gratified by these rankings as an affirmation of the hard work that we all do. 4 years ago, when the college embraced the Red Balloon Project, where we just sought to be as innovative and forward-thinking as we could, we really wanted to do 3 things. We wanted to make sure that we made ourselves better. We wanted to make sure we made ourselves more accessible. And for the most part, we wanted to make sure that this was a place that just wasn't up to speed with other schools, but was one that other schools would be emulating down the road. And I'm proud to say that I think we've done that, and we're going to continue to do that. I'd like to thank some of the faculty who've shown up here today that's been integral in this process. Janet, Paul, Mary, Sarah, see Valerie, a lot of staff, thank you very much for your innovation, for your hard work. I'd like to thank President Hammond and Fort Hays State for their support. in these efforts. Couldn't have done it without their help and their assistance along the way, their understanding of what we were trying to do. We appreciate that. And at this point, I'd like to let the people who did the real heavy lifting along the way give you some more detail about some of the specifics of some of the achievements. I'd like to call on Dr. Adam Holden, who's the chair of our Department of Teacher Education, Dr. Kim Perez, who's chair of our Department of History, to make a few words.
Good morning. I think just repeating on some of the topics that have already been touched upon, perhaps the most pleasing element of receiving a recognition like this is the fact that it speaks to the combination, the whole of the product. And I think that really stresses the key strength, I think, within our department. The truth is I get to stand here and feel good about the ranking, but much of the recognition really should go to my predecessor, who retired at the end of last year, and Dr. Germaine Taggart with her team did a fantastic job of preparing the department to be taken over in extraordinarily good shape. It's possible to improve and it's possible to make strides forward, but it's not possible to reinvent within 12 months, and so a lot of the credit really needs to go to her. And then secondly, as you've heard before, to the whole team that we have. I think perhaps the greatest strength that we have as a department is the tapestry and the diversity of the people on the floor. We have expertise in so many different areas, and we have a willingness for people to do far more than is required of them. And if programs are really going to be recognized as being nationally capable, you need people who are willing to look far past the requirements of their job in order to make the program come alive. It is humbling that both of our programs have reached the top ranking status, and we realize that comes at a considerable effort. Over the last year or so, we've partnered with many of the districts in Kansas to ask the professionals in the field what it is that they need from our teacher candidates. And that, coupled with our new accreditation standards, really has provided us with a new roadmap, which we've started forging ahead. As you can tell, the reading programs have really excelled. We have great strength in that area, and I'm delighted to be able to say that our reading programs at all levels, whether that's with our ESOL program or whether it's with our Readers Who Have Difficulties programs, have been recognized as being really quite outstanding. We now get to understand that the journey continues with our math and science, and over the next 12 months we look to revise those programs to make sure that the rigor and the capability there is equally strong. But all of this only happens when people are willing to take risks. If you really want something to move from good to absolutely excellent, the people in the program have to take risks, and for that we thank the leadership both of our dean and our president to challenge us to embrace the Red Balloon Project, to really look at how we can redefine who we are and not to accept the normal standards, to say that we can be the best and that we will be the best. And as we move forward, that's what we're looking to do. At the elementary level, certainly we will move forward by maintaining our rigor. We'll look at the elements of the program where we've been given feedback and that we can improve, and we're committed to that continuous improvement. The future is equally bright. We have our new residency program, which pilots in the fall, which we're extremely excited about, and which will go into the program. We're also looking at our open educational resources, something that is hugely time-consuming, but nevertheless has had a massive impact on our rankings today. The fact that our faculty are willing to go way past a single textbook to look for some of the most up-to-date and some of the most innovative educational practices is what's allowing us, I think, to be ahead of the curve. So on behalf of my department, and certainly they deserve the thanks more than I do, we certainly appreciate these rankings. We're very proud of them. And our partnerships, particularly with our secondary colleagues, is something that we value greatly. Thank you.
I have to admit that I was not aware that the National Council on Teacher Quality was actually evaluating the content aspect of our program, and I don't think many of the other content departments were aware of it either. It kind of all went through the secondary education department. So when I saw the report, I was quite surprised and also pleased. We in history and the other content areas were just doing what we do, which is going out and teaching. And so we're very pleased to be here and pleased that we did our small part in earning this, or helping to earn this number 3 ranking in secondary education. One of the strengths, like Dr. Hammond mentioned, in our program is that we have a partnership between the Department of Teacher Education and the content programs. And this ensures that our students are not only very well versed in the theory and practice of education, but also in the areas that they're going to be in the classroom teaching. And this improves the high school teachers and improves the content for them as well. One of the key standards that the report actually evaluated was high school content. And this is where the history department became involved, and we met the standards and helped to achieve this national ranking because of the content that we have to prepare students. We have a long history at Fort Hays in the history department of a strong curriculum, and I have to thank my predecessors for that. These standards were not due to anything that were done while I was chair. It's actually my predecessors that put this curriculum in line. We led the way in the state of Kansas, requiring that students take an introductory course in world history as part of the general education program and also part of the major. Further, we require all history majors to take at least 15 hours of world history because we believe in preparing our students to be world ready. We also, students are required to take more history content in the teacher education program than most other teacher educations in the state. As a result of this comprehensive curriculum, the Fort Hays History Secondary Education students, and I suspect that it's the same with all of the other content areas, they're prepared to teach American, European, and world history courses in the secondary classroom, a variety of different topics, which strengthens that high school curriculum. One of the final distinctions that was made in the report is that we also require our students to be prepared to teach a variety of topics that are related to history, not just history. The department requires teacher education majors to take 15 hours in political science because we believe that political science enhances the ability to teach history, and this is the most requirement, the most number of hours required by any other school in the state as far as taking political science on top of a history education degree. We further ask students to take statistics, economics, sociology, and also geography because, again, these topics enhance their ability to teach in a comprehensive history program and to strengthen their understanding of history. And so all of this content ensures that our students are not only world ready, but also classroom ready. So I thank you all. And I will turn it back over to Dr. Hammond.
Thank you. Well, if an institution gets to be ranked number 3 in the nation, there are marching bands and celebrations, you know. We don't have a marching band today, but we certainly are celebrating this tremendous success. And too often intercollegiate athletics rankings become more important than academic rankings. But I guarantee you, from a presidential perspective and from a Board of Regents perspective, this ranking is very, very important because it sets Fort Hays apart, not only in the state of Kansas, but also in the nation, as forward-thinking and world-ready. Reminds me a little bit, a couple of years ago, as some of you know, I go out and I meet with the departments once a year. And I was meeting with the teacher education department. And usually I ask questions as well as make little tiny speeches. But I asked them, I said, what are you doing as a department? What are you doing as faculty to connect with our partners in the K through 12 environment? And that department took that as a challenge, and they've gone out and done just a magnificent job in connecting with their colleagues and their fellow professionals out in the field. And I really believe that connectivity and listening to what those people that are on the firing line day in and day out teaching in elementary and secondary schools are telling us, that connectivity is what laid a strong foundation for the success. Because then they started doing crazy things and trying different kinds of projects. We call them the red balloon projects. They don't always succeed. Sometimes they fail. But you learn from failure too. You learn what doesn't work, and then you can invest in what does work. And that's what our teacher ed faculty have really done. They've taken some chances, they found out what works, they invest in what works, And as a result, we're standing here and we can brag about the fact that we are not only the best teacher ed program and college of education program in the state of Kansas, but we're one of the top in the country. In our region, clearly, and nationally, we're in the top 10, I think, in any category you want to look at. It's just a phenomenal, phenomenal record. And I don't want to end on that note. I want to end on the note that, this success, as I think Rob said, and also Dr. Perez said, isn't just one person or two people or the current faculty. You don't snap your fingers and all of a sudden change the way in which you're preparing teachers. This is something that is developed over a long period of time. And it goes back to even Ed Steno, who was a faculty member a long, long time ago, started some of these concepts. And our faculty have picked them up, and our current faculty is continuing to improve them. And by requiring students to do a little bit more, and by faculty being willing to do a little bit more, we've set ourselves apart. So I congratulate all the faculty in all of our content area departments, a lot of which are in the College of Arts and Sciences, but they also exist in Health and Life Sciences and the other departments, other colleges as well. Teacher education is a university commitment. It's not a college commitment. It's not a department commitment. We have a university commitment to prepare the best possible teachers we can for our children, and in my case, our grandchildren. Thank you very, very much for coming. If there are any questions, I will make sure that I could direct them to the people that can answer them. And we have a number of those people here in the room. Yes.
Dr. Hammond, I wanted to ask about Dr. Perez, a question about a commonality issue with trying to make sure that people were good on content as well. This goes back, you mentioned this goes back, way back. I was a student in the history department.
I didn't sign your diploma, so it was a long time ago.
It goes back to a long time ago. Well, it goes back to Ed Steno and other people.
Yeah.
And so I say this with experience. Really, this is not a common practice in other universities where the educational element does not hook up well with the content, or with the content element in secondary ed.
Why don't you come up
Here
here
it
and use the
seemed
microphone?
always second nature. Here has always seemed second nature.
What was your question?
My question is, it's always seemed second nature, hasn't it, here?
I don't think it has here. I think it has at other institutions. And one of the things that I did to kind of prep to come here today was to look at other programs in Kansas. And if you look at our program at Fort Hays, if you go to the website, it goes. They take you to secondary education, and then clearly they link out to the departments, and it demonstrates that partnership. Other programs I looked, and you couldn't find anything in the history department website about their education program. It was solely through the education department. And so I think this is actually a tradition that's very strong here at Fort Hays, and one that benefits us, because I and my colleagues and I cannot teach anything about educational theory and practice in the classroom at a high school level. That's really for the experts that are in the education department, but we can teach the content. So I think we have a very strong history here.
And isn't it ironic that probably your last news conference is back to your original major, sir, and that is education.
Fortuitous. Any other questions for the people that did the work? Thank you very much for coming.